There is a reason you are hearing this message now, and it has nothing to do with chance. Long before effort, before strategy, before the countless attempts to fix your financial life from the outside, a decision was made in the unseen realm about who you are meant to become. This moment is not about learning how to make money. It is about remembering the identity that was placed within you before struggle ever entered your awareness. An angel stands at the threshold of your perception, not to judge your past attempts, but to reveal why they never fully worked. You were never meant to force abundance into your life. You were meant to embody it. And embodiment does not begin with action. It begins with identity. From the moment you became conscious of money, effort was presented to you as the gateway. Work harder, try again, push more, sacrifice longer. Yet no one told you that effort without identity alignment only creates cycles, not breakthroughs. The angel's presence now is not emotional comfort. It is precise revelation. Something subtle but foundational was formed inside you early on, and it shaped every financial outcome that followed. You may have felt it before. That invisible ceiling. That pattern where momentum rises then collapses. Where opportunities appear, but stability never stays. Where money comes, but never obeys you. This was never punishment. It was feedback. A signal that your external actions were operating under an internal identity that could not sustain overflow. The angel speaks without sound, yet every word lands with clarity. You were trying to earn what was designed to respond to who you are. This is the separation point most people never cross. They confuse effort with worthiness. They confuse exhaustion with destiny. But wealth, in its purest form, responds to self-perception, not self-punishment. Right now, something is being interrupted. Not your progress, your timeline. The angel does not arrive when things are comfortable. It arrives when you are ready to stop negotiating with an outdated version of yourself. The version that learned to survive instead of receive. The version that adapted to limitation instead of commanding expansion. You may notice a quiet emotional shift as this truth settles. Not excitement, not fear, recognition, as if something long forgotten is being remembered at the cellular level. That is because identity is not intellectual. It is embodied memory, and the angel is not giving you new information. It is activating dormant authority. This is why effort alone never unlocked what you prayed for. Effort can move circumstances, but it cannot override identity. If deep within you, money was associated with instability, responsibility, guilt, or loss, then no amount of external motion could stabilize it. Wealth obeys the one who expects it to stay. The angel reveals something few are prepared to hear. Your financial story was never about lack of opportunity. It was about an identity that learned to contract before expansion could complete. That contraction was once protection. Now it is a barrier. You are not broken. You are misaligned. And misalignment can be corrected the moment awareness reaches the root. This message is not motivation. It is recalibration. The angel is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to become different. As this block closes, allow this realization to anchor. Effort did not fail you. It simply reached the limit of an identity it could no longer carry. What comes next does not require force. It requires permission, and that permission begins now. The angel now moves deeper, past surface beliefs, past affirmations, past the stories you consciously tell yourself about money. This is where the real block has been hiding, not in your actions, but in the emotional logic that formed your identity long before you ever tried to succeed. At some point, you learned a silent rule. Stability is fragile. Maybe it came from watching money disappear. Maybe from responsibility placed on you too early. Maybe from seeing effort go unrewarded. The details matter less than the conclusion your subconscious reached. It decided that holding wealth was unsafe, temporary, or heavy. And identities are built around safety, not desire. The angel does not accuse. It explains. When the subconscious believes that abundance threatens emotional balance, it will sabotage consistency while allowing temporary gain. This is why cycles form. This is why breakthroughs feel real, then dissolve. It is not because you did something wrong. It is because your identity was trying to protect you from a perceived threat. Notice how this reframes everything. The block was not resistance to wealth. It was loyalty to survival. The angel speaks directly now, as if addressing you alone. You learn to measure success by relief, not expansion. Relief is the feeling of escaping pressure. Expansion is the capacity to hold more without contraction. Your identity mastered relief. It was never taught expansion. This is why effort felt heavy. This is why rest felt undeserved. This is why receiving without struggle felt suspicious. Your identity equated ease with danger, and wealth cannot stay where ease is rejected. As this realization unfolds, you may feel an emotional release or even resistance. That is normal. Identity does not dissolve quietly. It negotiates. It defends itself. But the angel is not here to erase your past. It is here to update your internal operating system. Here is the invisible shift happening now. The moment you see the block, you are no longer inside it. Awareness separates you from the pattern, and separation is the first act of sovereignty. If you feel compelled to acknowledge this realization internally, or even express it outwardly, that impulse is part of integration. Identity shifts stabilize when witnessed. Even silently recognizing this was protecting me changes the emotional contract with money. The angel confirms something important. You were never meant to fight your way into abundance. You were meant to feel safe enough to let it stay. Safety is identity work, not effort work. As this block ends, the root has been revealed. Not as shame, but as understanding. And understanding loosens what force never could. Now that the old logic has been exposed, reconstruction begins naturally. Not by destroying who you were, but by releasing the role you no longer need to play. The identity that learned to survive did its job. It brought you here, but it cannot take you further. The angel introduces a new internal reference point. Continuity. Wealth is not an event, it is a state. And states are maintained by identity, not effort. The question is no longer, how do I get more? But, who am I when more arrives? This is where the shift becomes tangible. You begin to sense yourself differently. Not inflated, not forced, grounded, present, less urgent. Urgency was never ambition. It was fear dressed as motivation. The new identity does not chase, it expects. Expectation is not entitlement, it is alignment. When identity and expectation match, reality reorganizes without struggle. The angel anchors this truth gently. You do not need to become someone else. You need to stop being who you were under pressure. Pressure identities dissolve when pressure is no longer required for worth. As this reconstruction stabilizes, you may notice subtle behavioral changes. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of rush. You allow pauses. These are not signs of laziness. They are signs of authority. Wealth responds to authority. This block completes not with fireworks, but with calm certainty. The old identity loosens. The new one does not announce itself. It settles in. With identity shifting internally, alignment becomes practical without effort. Decisions feel cleaner. Opportunities feel different. You are no longer trying to prove readiness. You are recognizing resonance. The angel explains that alignment is not a technique. It is a byproduct of coherence. When your internal identity expects continuity, your nervous system stops signaling scarcity. And when scarcity signals stop, choices change. You may notice yourself drawn to different conversations, different information, different pacing. This is not coincidence. It is calibration. Engagement with messages that reinforce identity is part of stabilization, not as dependency, but as reinforcement. Identity strengthens through consistent reflection. The angel does not command action. It confirms direction, and direction feels lighter than discipline. The angel now withdraws, not because the work is done, but because it has been transferred. What was once external guidance is now internal knowing. Your wealth unlock does not begin tomorrow. It began the moment identity shifted. Results follow identity the way shadows follow form. This is the release, quiet, certain, stable. And from this point forward, effort will finally work. Not because you try harder, but because you are no longer resisting who you were meant to be. The chapter closes. The journey continues.